The learning objective of the chapter is to learn maritime English and understand basic terminology relating to types of ships, organization on board ships, ship design and terminology. The classification of merchant ships on the basis of the type and methods of carrying cargo is as follows: bulk carriers, crude oil tankers, product tankers, gas tankers, chemical tankers, container ships, passenger ships, ro-ro ships, general cargo ships, reefer ships, heavy lift vessels, lash, livestock carriers. Click on the text to learn more. Bulk carriers. Bulk carriers are ships specially designed to carry homogeneous unpacked cargo in bulk. Cargo such as coal, iron ore, grain, light minerals and other dry products is carried in bulk in large cargo holds. Bulk carriers are commonly categorized by their size. Ships of 25,000 deadweight tons are called handysize. About 75,000 DWT are called Panamax, and those over 200,000 DWT are called Capesize. Tankers. Tankers carry liquids such as crude oil, petroleum products, various oils, and liquid chemicals in bulk. This type of cargo is loaded in specialized tanks. A network of pipelines and pumps is provided to load and discharge the cargo. Depending on the type of cargo, tankers are further classified. For example, crude oil tanker, product tanker, gas tanker, and chemical tanker. Crude oil tankers. Crude oil tankers are ships that carry crude oil and other dirty liquid cargoes. The cargo is carried in large covered tanks. The capacity of these ships can vary from a few thousand tons to almost 500,000 tons. Large crude oil tankers are often referred to as VLCC and ULCC. Product tankers. Liquid cargoes such as gasoline, naphtha, kerosene, aviation fuel, or similar clean petrochemical products are carried on product tankers. They also carry cooking oils such as tallow, vegetable, palm, and corn oil. Compared to crude oil tankers, these ships are smaller, and they usually have a larger number of tanks to segregate the different types of cargoes. Gas tankers. Gas tankers are ships that carry liquefied gases. Some of the most common gases are propane, butane, ammonia, and methane. These gases are kept in a liquid state in specially designed tanks maintained at very high pressure or very low temperature, or a combination of both. There are broadly two types of gas tankers, depending on the type of cargoes they carry. LPG tankers carry liquefied petroleum gases, such as butane, propane, or similar gases. They are designed to carry their cargo in pressurized and refrigerated states. LNG tankers are specially designed to carry liquefied natural gas at temperatures of -160 degrees Celsius and below. Container ships. Container ships are ships designed to carry standard-sized containers. Containers are stacked in the ship's holds, as well as on the deck, and secured to the ship using a locking mechanism. Two of the most common standard sizes of containers are the 20-foot and 40-foot units. The capacity of a container ship is usually expressed by the number of 20-foot equivalent units that can be carried by the ship. Container ships. Container ships are ships designed to carry standard-sized containers. Containers are stacked in the ship's holds, as well as on the deck, and secured to the ship using a locking mechanism. Two of the most common standard sizes of containers are the 20-foot and 40-foot units. The capacity of a container ship is usually expressed by the number of 20-foot equivalent units that can be carried by the ship. Passenger ships. These ships are used by passengers either for the purpose of travel between two ports or for pleasure cruising. Passenger ships used for short intersea trade and travel are called ferries and are capable of carrying cars, commercial vehicles, and small quantities of containers or palletized cargoes along with the passengers. Others are designed as luxury hotels and are capable of transporting holidaymakers relatively long distances in great comfort. Ro-ro ships. Ro-ro, or roll-on, roll-off ships, have large ramp doors at the bow or stern to allow vehicles to drive in and out of the ship from the jetty. These ships have many long and wide decks to allow cars and commercial vehicles to be loaded and secured safely. Ro-ro ships used for short intersea trade are sometimes called ro-ro ferries. General cargo ships. General cargo ships are capable of carrying a diverse range of cargo in bales, drums, or in palletized form. They are usually small ships with a capacity of up to 35,000 metric tons. Some, known as tween-deckers, have multiple decks inside the cargo holds for segregation purposes. Reefer ships. Refrigerated cargo ships are designed to carry cargo that needs to be kept frozen or chilled. This includes fruits, meat, juices, or other perishable foodstuffs. The insulated cargo holds have specially designed refrigeration and air cooling systems to maintain a specific range of low temperatures. Heavy lift vessels. Ships that can load very heavy cargoes on the deck or in the cargo hold are known as heavy lift vessels. They can carry a variety of unusual cargoes, including heavy machinery, yachts, drilling rigs, barges and bridges. Their decks and hold tank tops are designed to withstand the high load density of cargoes, and they sometimes have their own integral specialized cranes. Lash. Lash carry large barges loaded with cargo. These barges are loaded and unloaded onto the ship using huge gantry cranes on board the ships, alongside a jetty or at anchorages. This method allows access to places with shallow waters, or transportation of cargo by barges to inland areas using rivers and canals. Livestock carriers. Livestock carriers are designed for transportation of animals and livestock, like sheep, goats and cows. They have specially designed compartments for the carriage and care of the animals. Whether at sea or in port, shipboard activities continue 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The manning of ships and the related work schedule on board has evolved through centuries of tradition and continues to change with the increasing use of automation. Click on the shipboard ranks to learn more about his or her role on board the ship. Master, deck department. Chief officer, second officer, third officer, deck cadet, bosun, deck ratings, engine department. Chief engineer, second engineer, third engineer, fourth engineer, electrical officer, fitter, engine ratings, catering department, chief cook and steward. Master. The master of the ship, or the captain, is in command of the ship. He has the overall responsibility for the safe navigation of the ship, the safety and protection of the crew and passengers, the safe delivery of the cargo, and the efficient maintenance of the ship's equipment. He ensures discipline and smooth operations on the ship by delegating responsibility to qualified officers and members of the crew, and by monitoring their performance. Chief Officer. The Chief Officer is in charge of the deck and cabin departments. He is responsible for loading, discharging and care of the cargo, in port and at sea, the general maintenance of the deck and accommodation areas, and maintaining the navigation and safety equipment. He also assists the master in the general administration on the ship. While at sea, the Chief Officer normally keeps the 4 to 8 morning and evening navigation watch. Second Officer. The Second Officer is often called the Navigating Officer and is responsible for the upkeep of navigational charts, navigational equipment and publications. He plans the voyage under the guidance of the master and plots the course on the chart before the ship sails. At sea, he keeps the navigational watch from 12 to 4 morning and night. In port, he keeps alternate cargo watch to assist the Chief Officer in cargo operations. Third Officer. The Third Officer is responsible for the maintenance of the ship's safety equipment, including the firefighting and the life-saving equipment, under the guidance of the Chief Officer. He keeps the 8 to 12 morning and evening navigational watch at sea. In port, he keeps the cargo watch, alternating with the Second Officer to ensure smooth cargo operations. Boatswain. The boatswain, or boatswain, is in charge of the deck ratings or crew. The boatswain takes orders from the Chief Officer for the maintenance work on deck and allocates work to the deck ratings. Deck ratings. Deck ratings are crew members who work on the deck. They join the ship as ordinary seamen, doing daily work such as chipping and painting of the deck and cleaning of cargo holds. On gaining experience, they can be promoted to the rank of able-bodied seaman. An AB assists the officer on watch as a lookout on the bridge for obstructions and other ships at sea. He carries out helm orders by handling the steering wheel to maneuver the ship as required. Besides these duties, he does maintenance work on the deck, sentry duty at the gangway, and cargo watch in port. Besides these duties, he does maintenance work on the deck, sentry duty and cargo watch in the port. Chief Engineer. The Chief Engineer is the head of the engine department. He has the overall responsibility for the maintenance and smooth operation of all machinery, including the engine room and deck machinery, electrical and electronic systems, mooring equipment, deck pumps and cranes. He is also responsible for the ordering and storing of spares and stores required for the upkeep of the machinery. The Chief Engineer estimates the fuel oil consumption of the main engine during the voyage and ensures sufficient bunker or fuel oil is available for the forthcoming voyage. Second Engineer. The Second Engineer is in charge of engine room machinery and personnel, and assists the Chief Engineer in the maintenance of all machinery in the engine room and critical machinery on deck. He delegates various jobs to the engineers and engine ratings, and monitors their performance. He keeps the 4 to 8 morning and evening engine room watch in a manned ship, and day work in an unmanned machinery spaceship along with other engineers. Third Engineer. The Third Engineer is responsible for auxiliary engines and other electrical equipment. He also keeps the engine room watch from 12 to 4 morning and night, and assists in the general maintenance of the engine room. Fourth Engineer. The Fourth Engineer is responsible for auxiliary machinery such as purifiers, pumps and related equipment. He is responsible for daily bunker calculations. He usually keeps the 8 to 12 morning and evening engine room watch. Electrical Officer. The Electrical Officer is responsible for the maintenance of electrical equipment on board the ship, including radio, navigation and safety equipment. Fitter. The fitter assists in the general maintenance of the engine room. The various repair jobs, including welding and gas work, are usually carried out by the fitter. Engine ratings. Engine ratings assist in general maintenance and cleaning and contribute to smooth operations in the engine room. Catering department. On cargo ships, the chief cook and the stewards form part of a catering department team, with the responsibility for food preparation and service and general accommodation area cleanliness. They work under the guidance of the master. On passenger ships, the catering department will have more personnel to meet the requirements of the passengers. In this section, we will learn about the common terms used in general design of a merchant vessel, directions on a vessel, movements of a vessel. Click on the icons to learn more. Main deck, poop deck, forecastle, bow and anchor, rudder and propeller, monkey island, funnel, bridge, engine room, accommodation. Main deck. The main deck is the uppermost deck that runs the entire length of a ship. Superstructure. The superstructure houses the crew accommodation, offices, stores, etc. Crane. The crane is a machine for lifting heavy objects or cargo. Scuppers. The scuppers are drains from the decks to take out excess rainwater, condensation or seawater. Ladder. The ladder is a set of steps leading from one deck to another. Poop deck. The poop deck is the deck situated at the aft of the ship. Fairlead. Fairleads are openings in the ship's bulwark or hull to guide mooring lines and ropes. They are specially strengthened and designed to prevent chafing of ropes. Panama lead. Panama lead, or centre lead, is the name for the fairlead at the forward and aft ends of the ship at the centre line. Bitts and bollard. Bitts are cylindrical-shaped small posts fixed on the ship or quay and are used to tie the mooring lines. Capstan. Capstans are drums or cylinders revolving in a vertical axis. They are mainly used on board for pulling ropes or mooring lines. Forecastle. The forecastle is the slightly raised structure at the forward part of the ship. It is a mooring station used for housing windlass machinery and as a storeroom. Capstan. Capstans are drums or cylinders revolving in a vertical axis. They are mainly used on board for pulling ropes or mooring lines. Bitts and bollard. Bitts are usually cylindrical-shaped small posts fixed on the ship or quay and are used to tie the mooring lines. Windlass. The windlass is the machinery for lifting and lowering the anchor cable. Panama lead. Panama lead, or centre lead, is the name for the fairlead at the forward and aft ends of the ship at the centre line. Bulbous bow. The bulbous bow is a protruding bow that is designed to break up the bow wave before it reaches the ship. Anchor. The anchor is used to keep the ship fixed within a small area in the water. It gets its holding power due to its weight and design, plus the added weight of the cable it is attached to. Bow thruster. The bow thruster is a propeller at the bow of the ship, used during manoeuvring to provide transverse thrust. Propeller. The propeller is similar to a fan. Rotary motion of the propeller blades in the water provides the force for the ship's movement. Rudder. The function of the rudder is to steer the ship. The rudder is usually located in the water flow aft of the propeller. Monkey Island. The Monkey Island is the uppermost deck on the superstructure upon which the main mast and various aerials are located. Signal whistle. The signal whistle is an instrument to produce a loud sound for alerts and warnings. Radar scanner. The radar scanner is an antenna that sends out and receives radar wave pulses. Main mast. The main mast is usually the highest portion of the ship. Scanners and navigational lights are placed at various heights on the main mast. Halyard. The halyard are the ropes on the main mast for hoisting flags. Mast headlight. The mast headlight is a white navigational light on the mast. Funnel. The funnel is the large exhaust pipe for the ship's engine room and machinery fumes. Bridge. The bridge is the command center of the ship. It is usually the highest enclosed portion within the ship's superstructure. Engine room. The engine room is a space where the main and auxiliary engines are located. Accommodation. The accommodation consists of spaces on board the ship which are set apart for the crew. Cabin. Cabins are the rooms or compartments for personnel use. Porthole. Portholes are the windows in the cabins. Alleyway. The alleyway, or passageway, is the name for the enclosed corridors in the accommodation areas of the ship. Galley. The galley is the kitchen area used for food preparation. Mess room. The mess room is the place where the crew eats their meals. Port. When you are on a ship looking forward towards the bow, the side of the ship on your left is called port. Starboard. When you are on a ship looking forward towards the bow, the side of the ship on your right is called starboard. Aft or stern. The aft or stern is the rear end of the ship. Forward or bow. The forward or bow is the front end of the ship. Midships. Midships is the area in the center of the ship. Port bow. The forward part of the ship on the port side. Starboard bow. The forward part of the ship on the starboard side. Port quarter. The aft part of the ship, usually from the stern to the accommodation, on the port side. Starboard quarter. The aft part of the ship, usually from the stern to the accommodation, on the starboard side. A beam. A beam is the direction at right angles to the forward-aft line of the ship, usually from the center of the ship. Ahead, astern, athwartships, rolling, pitching, yawing. Ahead. Ahead is the forward movement of the ship. Astern. Astern is the aft or reverse movement of the vessel. Athwartships. Athwartships is the sideways movement of the ship. This movement plays an important part in berthing and close interaction between ships. Rolling. The side-to-side motion of a ship along the vertical line is known as rolling. Pitching. The up and down motion of a ship forward and aft is known as pitching. Yawing. The port and starboard movement of bow along the waterplane is known as yawing. Breadth. Breadth usually denotes the greatest width of the vessel, usually measured in the centre, LOA, or from stem to stern. Length overall. It denotes the total length of the ship from stem to stern. Draft. Draft denotes the depth of the ship in water, or the vertical distance from the bottom of a floating ship to the waterline. Freeboard. Freeboard is the height of the main deck of the ship from the waterline. Under-keel clearance. Under-keel clearance is the vertical distance between the seabed and the bottom of the ship. Airdraft. Airdraft is the vertical distance of the highest point on the ship from the waterline. Bunkers. Bunkers is the term for the fuel used aboard the ship. The name derives from the days when coal was the main fuel for ships' engines, and this was stored in bins or bunkers. ROB. ROB stands for remaining on board. ROB is the term used to denote fuel, ballast, cargo, or water remaining on board. ETA. Estimated time of arrival. ETC. Estimated time of completion of a task, such as cargo work or bunkering. ETD. Estimated time of departure.